Story 1. Paying service fees in addition to the price, even when the service is automated. Story 2. My children tell me ankle socks are for middle-aged people who lack style. Yes, I know. That is why I keep buying them. I do not follow fashion trends in socks. Story 3. Timeshares are mostly owned by older adults now, as they are not as popular as they once were. However, they are generally considered a poor investment. Story 4. LinkedIn is a platform where professionals connect and share opportunities. Story 5. Work hard, do not take time off, and your loyalty will be rewarded. 100,000% nonsense. Story 6. Blue-collar jobs are challenging. I loved my blue-collar work. Arrive, work, and leave it behind when I went home. Plus, that union pay was attractive. If I ever return to the workplace, it will be in a blue-collar job for me. Story 7. That life magically clicks in your 20s. It does not. Most of us are winging it at every age. Story 8. Relationship advice from Reddit. You would think most users on those subreddits were divorce attorneys. Story 9. You cannot be anything you want. You have limits. It is really hard to figure that out, but you will likely be okay if you do. Story 10. Wedding drama does not matter. A wedding should be about celebrating two people getting married and two families coming together. People have totally forgotten the two families part and instead act like they get to be king and queen for a day. When you relax and do not take it so seriously, you have a better time. Story 11. Companies are phasing out physical media to sell us content we do not actually own, which can be taken away, edited, or censored. You can have my DVDs, Blu-rays, vinyl records, and CDs when you pry them from my cold, dead fingers. Story 12. Any communication style that does not involve being direct but gracious. I remember on my first wedding day, someone told me never to tell your husband what you think but to let him believe it is his idea. That did not work out for a variety of reasons and certainly did not help. At the same time, I received advice about how to get what you want at work by asking for more than you need and bargaining your way into things. These are all terrible ideas. You do not need to manipulate or trick people or avoid expressing what you think. Be honest and communicate your needs and ideas clearly while also being respectful of the feelings of those around you. Be confident in what you believe, but also leave room for the possibility that there might be other perspectives you had not considered, and be open to change when you learn new things. If you do this, you will be just fine. Story 13. Influencers are complete frauds in every way. They do not live up to expectations. Story 14. The fact that we do not own anything anymore. It is all a subscription. Former homeowner. I am stuck renting. We rent our music from Spotify monthly. We rent our television from Netflix monthly. Microsoft does not sell you Office anymore. Even my printer requires a monthly subscription, and I have not used it this year. The quality of everything made is reduced to save money and increase margins, so we do not even get appliances, clothing, and cars that last anymore. It is all a money-making scam. Story 15. You are interacting with robots far more often than you realize when you are on the internet. Story 16. Blindly following any political party or religious leader is unwise. People in those positions are there for their own benefit, not yours. Think for yourself. If something seems too good to be true 99.9% of the time, it is not true. Whenever a politician says something, ask yourself who is profiting from that statement, because that is why it is being said. Someone has told the politician what to say and what to do so they can make more money. Story 17. You are in your prime in your 20s, and hitting 30 is not a terrible turning point. Successful people at that age are outliers. Life is long, and worthwhile success takes most people many decades. Do not stress if you are not there yet. Just keep going. Story 18. That you're young, gain experience, and don't care about money should be gain experience while getting paid fairly. Because one day you won't be 25 years old. To add, because some people seem to misunderstand my comment, I am not saying you should demand $100,000 a year without attending university or having an in-demand trade skill. I am saying you should not be scraping by when you have your degree and 1 to 3 years of experience. Story 19. dividing people into generational groups and pretending there is a huge difference between them. There are more commonalities than differences, and those differences are usually temporary. It is just a way to set people against each other and distract from economic differences. Story 20. Pornographic movies. There is no way a plumber arrives on time in real life. Story 21. Research papers are often locked behind paywalls. I completed a research project last year. I work for the federal government, so it was funded by taxpayer money. I receive a daily email advertising research studies related to my profession. This morning's recommendation listed me as an author. I clicked on it, and they wanted $20 for me to read it. I started searching for a way to access it for free, but could not find one without using my shared drive or SharePoint. Since you paid for that study, the findings should be freely accessible. Note: I can type some of the time, but this was not one of those times. Story 22. I know this will likely receive a lot of downvotes, but cryptocurrencies. Yes, you can make money with them. However, I am 90% convinced they are supported by organized crime. Story 23. The golden years. Golden for the doctors, hospitals, and pharmacies, but not so much for the rest of us. Story 24. Love at first sight. It's lust at first sight. Love is when you dedicate and put effort into a person you have chosen to be your life partner. You are likely compatible with many people, but you find one to invest energy into and vice versa. Story 25. 99.9% of the things you find on TikTok Shorts or the internet in general. The sad part is that I feel children do not realize that. Story 26. Fast and hard workers are getting punished with the lazy person's work. Note: no additional pay. Story 27. 1 doctor out of 10 does not approve of my toothpaste. Story 28. That whole back in my day we bought a house on a single income working part-time at the grocery store idea. Cost of living versus wages is so different now, it is not even close. Story 29. Being cool. Everything about trying to be cool is expensive, self-defeating, destructive, and the rewards are brief and fruitless. Story 30. Parents telling their kids that someone is being mean to them because they like them or are jealous of them. As adults, if someone pulls our hair, pushes us to the ground, hits us every day, spreads mean rumors about us, calls us names, or tells us that we are ugly and stupid, we do not think they are doing these things because they like us. Stop telling kids that people are treating them badly because they like them. It is completely untrue. Story 31. With very few exceptions, when people at work refer to themselves as friends, it is rarely true. Also, when the boss says, "We are like a family," that is not accurate. I have worked for decades, had over 100 coworkers, talked to some of them daily for years while at the job, and when I left, I never heard from any of them again unless they wanted to use me as a reference. Story 32. The paperclip was invented to hold paper. It is clearly a device for removing subscriber identity module cards from iPhones in the year 1879. Story 33. Anyone can do and be anything they want, and it is all a meritocracy. Story 34. Everything happens for a reason. No, things happen because they happen. There is no master plan that controls everything. Story 35. Us. You think we have this figured out? We do not. We are winging it every minute of every day. All of us. Every single one. Story 36. Dealing with other people's egos. I tolerated it when I was younger. Now it has become exhausting. You are in your 40s or older and you still have to unhealthily compare yourself to others with every breath. It is completely false at all times. Story 37. In my opinion, the Citizens United decision allowing undisclosed political funding should be reversed as soon as possible. The public is tired of corruption on both sides of the political spectrum. Story 38. No one is going to give you 2 weeks' notice before they fire or lay you off. Story 39. Politics, news, and information on social media. You should not rely on any social media source for information. It is simply far too unreliable and easily manipulated. Platforms like Twitter and Facebook are actively targeted by foreign intelligence operations to pit supporters of both sides against each other, including at live protests. Actively filter news and politics from your social media feeds. Instead, Rely on established information sources and avoid overconsumption. Choose a few sites you know you can trust and depend on them. Assume that if it is on social media, including Reddit, you are likely being fed misinformation. You will discover very quickly that many people do not know what they are talking about because their information comes from social media. Story 40. The everything is black or white, you are either with us or against us. There is no middle ground attitude that many young people have about politics is a significant factor in how we arrived at our current situation. Story 41. Everyone is special. We complain about the entitled young, but we have been filling their heads with this nonsense since they were born. Most people are ordinary. Some have extraordinary things happen to them. Most do not. Story 42. Any wellness industry professional who learns something new and then immediately offers it as a service and sells courses and ebooks about it. Story 43. Most of Reddit. The headline posts are mostly bot-driven, and titles are misleading to provoke rage and disgust and get clicks, just like every other junk media. Be careful. Story 44. I'm going to get criticized for this post because it will trigger the right, left, and center. Everything I present is verifiably true, but that will not stop some from angrily arguing with me about it. 1. The moon phase has no detectable influence on our behavior. Your friend who works in the emergency room and claims you can always tell when it's a full moon is either lying to seem momentarily interesting or is susceptible to suggestion. 2. Menstrual cycles do not synchronize, regardless of proximity or duration of proximity to other menstruating individuals. Coworkers and dorm mates who joke about these alignments selectively focus on times when cycles coincide and ignore the equally common times when they do not. 3. There is no such thing as sushi-grade fish. This is a marketing term without factual basis, regardless of species, location, harvesting method, or processing. The best fish to eat raw has been deeply frozen once for a sufficient duration to kill parasites, but the label sushi-grade is meaningless. 4. Technology in education does not improve outcomes. This is evident from research showing that the use of technology in classrooms and at home does not enhance educational results, except when the technology itself is the subject being taught. This is particularly relevant in the United States, which has the most expensive education system globally but performs poorly compared to other developed nations. This is because the government is heavily influenced by third-party vendors seeking large contracts to sell educational software platforms at high costs to school districts that can barely afford them. Funds that could improve school lunches, raise educator salaries while demanding high performance, reduce class sizes, and provide services for special needs are diverted to these contracts. Teachers are often forced to use ineffective software that costs more than their salaries and delivers no benefits. Providing students with Chromebooks or tablets has not improved performance in math, science, reading, or other subjects but has cost billions nationwide. The education system is costly because corporations profit from it, but students do not benefit. Apple, Google, and Microsoft have earned billions at the expense of state governments. Story 45. Trickle-down economics has been tried for over 40 years and is a proven failure. The United States healthcare system, regardless of what you hear or currently believe, taxpayer-funded healthcare systems are superior to the for-profit system used in the United States. Story 46. That you are supposed to have life figured out by 30. You will not. You just get better at boundaries, budgeting, and letting go. Story 47. You can be anything you want if you try hard enough. Nonsense. Story 48. If you are going to college, choose a degree that leads to employment. You can pursue your passion as a hobby. Story 49. In today's society, everyone feels that their feelings are completely justified and must be recognized. Story 50. 35 years in software. Guys, this is just spicy autocorrect. A longer answer, when you first learn about doing research as a middle school or high school student, a shocking thing for some people is the admonition against using encyclopedias as sources in papers. They are fine for an overview of a topic, but for an actual research paper, the name of the game is reading and understanding primary sources. Britannica is not that. Artificial intelligence is the same way. It is just chewing through whatever texts it can find with no real filter for what is real and what is false, so it is basically just a stupid filter over an encyclopedia. Trusting it without finding real, actual sources to confirm its statements is folly. Also, when I hear you say, I looked it up on Chat Generative Pre-trained Transformer, what I hear is, I am a gullible idiot. Story 51. Pretty much all reality television. Whoever came up with that name should be punished. Story 52. Any type of supplements designed to increase brain function. There are no supplements that have been proven to make a difference. Story 53. Anti-vaccination advocates claim vaccines are dangerous and cause autism. Story 54. Financial institutions want to help you grow your wealth through investing. However, all of them, especially insurance companies, are not primarily in business to make you money. Be very careful about whom you invest with. Story 55. The influencer trend. Influencers can go away. Story 56. Anti-vaccine propaganda is misleading. Vaccines save more lives than any invention in human history. The anti-vaccine movement originated from a flawed study of 12 children, where a few were diagnosed with autism after receiving vaccines. Autism is usually diagnosed during doctors' visits when young children get vaccinated. The study showed no correlation. This hysteria has been amplified by Russian bots to harm Americans. There was a deliberate effort to increase vaccine misinformation in America by infiltrating the homeschool curriculum. Regardless, get your vaccinations. Story 57. Having to download applications for everything and websites that want my email before I have looked at one product. Story 58. Flat Earth and fake moon landing. It is a globe and we definitely went. Just because the technology looks ancient does not mean it did not work. Story 59. It will be better. It will not. You just learn how to adapt to challenges. Story 60. TikTok or any type of influencer. Also, sorority houses, college parties, and so on. Story 61. Loyalty to your employer. I see many younger people who, like myself when I was that age, put their work over their personal life, working long hours for no additional reward. It is not worth it. If your employer needs you to put in extra time to meet deadlines that they set, then you should be paid for it. Story 62. I don't know what you're defining as older, but trying to find the closest parking spot possible in a parking lot can be frustrating. If you see an open one close to the store, go for it. However, I recently realized that driving around the parking lot for a long time until you find an available space is a waste of time. I have made a habit of getting one near the back of the lot, and it has saved a lot of time and stress. Story 63. Spending tens of thousands of dollars on a wedding can be a lot of fun, but ultimately it is the biggest waste of money you will ever make. Story 64. Baby boomers have been criticized for their impact on the environment and the economy. However, many planet-friendly laws that the current administration is working to support were established by this generation. If baby boomers are at fault for anything, it may be their inability to fully anticipate future challenges. During their prime years, they were focused on raising families, working, paying taxes, and living their lives. The real issue lies with capitalists who prioritize profit by any means necessary. As the older generation passes, a new generation is eager to maximize financial gain. This situation was not recognized early enough. Story 65. Politicians do not care about you. They see us as followers, and the political divide is misleading. Ultimately, people on both sides belong to the same social groups and share similar investments. Story 66. Worrying about what others think is unnecessary. Life is too short. Be yourself and do not compare yourself to others. Story 67. Automated customer service that starts with, "Your call is very important to us." No, if it was important, you would not make me listen to 7 advertisements and hear 15 prompts to get close to what I am looking for. If my call was truly important to you, you would have someone answer the phone. Story 68. Alpha, beta, and all associated ideas. The concept originated from a scientist who studied wolves, observing dominant and aggressive behavior from a pack leader he called an alpha. Some people mistakenly concluded that because a wild animal behaves this way, It is manly for humans to act similarly and that it is something to emulate. Making things worse. The concept was inaccurate. The initial observations were made on wolves in captivity, who were stressed, especially regarding food. The same scientists later studied wolves in the wild and found that the alphas were caring, nurturing, and gentle. He retracted the idea. Alpha wolf behavior is an unnatural aberration caused by insecurity. Story 69. Everything being sold these days is a scam. It is all gambling and shrinkflation. Nothing is a good deal anymore. Story 70. Politics. The two-party system. There is only one version of us versus them, and it is working class versus ruling class. Everything else is fabricated. Eat the rich. Story 71. YouTube Shorts are commercials. TikTok is commercials. Some people my age are glued to both. I don't use either of these platforms. I see everyone around me, though, and it's nothing but commercials for someone's brand, experience, or vibe. It's so strange how heavily living has become commercialized. Story 72. 99.9% of everything is nonsense. Drive past a cemetery and tell me who worked overtime and who set boundaries, who was a great husband and who was a jerk, who owned a Porsche and who drove a dilapidated Civic, who had many friends and who died alone. This is your life. Do what makes you you. Nothing else matters. Story 73. Pornography is harmful to our brains, self-esteem, and relationships. This claim is easily verifiable. If you search for "quit pornography," you will find how much struggle it causes, often without people even realizing it. People of all ages are affected, with younger individuals impacted the most, along with many adults and their partners who struggle. I am not religious. I have not watched pornography for 9 weeks so far, with no plans to return, and it took me years to learn how to resist it. I have become the best person I can be so far. If you struggle with this addiction, know that you are not alone and that you can quit. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.